Hello. Hi guys, it's Kimmie here. Trying to get everything set up here. Hi Lori, I see you. Okay. Let me just make sure everything's working here. You can see everything okay. Okay. All right, so this is our first Kraftin with Kimmie live session, and I'm kind of excited about it, but I'm also kind of nervous. Hi, Bobby. Hi, the Circle Guru. I don't know all your names, but hi, Tangi. So we're going to do our first Kraftin with Kimmie live, and thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to try to do this fairly quickly. I'm not a fast colorer, and I think I forewarned you. I'm nowhere near the level of coloring skill that a lot of the design team has, but I wanted to play along with you, and we'll see how it goes. So I think everybody that's joining me, I started a group on Facebook, an event page letting you know about this event. And so what I mentioned was we'll be using this Happy Winter Days stamp set. It's one of the new stamp sets by Becky Pierce. And you were able to purchase the supplies ahead of time if you wanted to, or you can play along with whatever paper you happen to have. And I'll give you the measurements of everything. It's a simple A2 sized card. I wanted to start out fairly easy so that, oh, you love the fox? Yeah, me too. He's super cute. And so I guess we can just get started. I think I mentioned what you needed to do ahead of time was, stamp out your fox and stamp out the wreath. And I'm using Copic markers. You can use whatever medium you want to use. I'm using the Copic markers, so I stamped mine in the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And so I asked you to stamp out the fox and then fussy cut the image. So just trim fairly closely around the outside of the image, or you can trim right up to the image. It's totally up to you. I like that these images, the newer images by Becky and some of the ones by Emily are really easy to fussy cut if you want to do that. They're not, really intricate images, so you can fussy cut them really easily. Also, I'll tell you a secret. I just bought the Brother Scan and Cut, so they're even quicker now. so I can cut a whole bunch out at a time, and that's what I've done. If I design a card that I want to make a bunch of, I tend to stamp a whole bunch out so that I have a lot in case I mess one up or I just want to duplicate it. So that's what I've done. So I asked you to fussy cut the fox and then stamp the wreath and then cut it out with a circle, whether you have a circle, a spellbinder circle, or, the old Creative Memories circle tracing utensil tool that you can use. I used a spellbinder, and I believe it's actually 2 3/4 inches across. That's the size I used that fit the wreath. So that's what I'm going to use. So, and I also mentioned the markers that I'm going to be using. I did color them up ahead of time. So I posted the picture on there so you can see. And this is what we're going to be coloring up here. So I'm going to try, I'm a fairly slow colorer, if that's a word. So if you want to go ahead and color quicker, or if you've already colored it up ahead of time, that's fine too. I'm going to try to color fairly quickly here. So first we'll start off with the fox. Now, normally a fox is, sort of a reddish color. I would probably use like E17, 18, 19, those sorts of colors. But the paper that I chose to use, and if you got the supplies from me, you have these in your hands. This is, it's an older line. It's called Bundled Up. And so it's got pinks and browns in it. So I thought we'd color up the fox in the browns. So the colors that I chose were E31 and E55, and then also E57. So we'll start off with the E31, and Now, this is just the way I color. Not everybody colors like this. Some people color dark to light. Some people light to dark. Some really, hi, Melanie. Some people really, oh yeah, sure. Melanie comes in to watch when I'm coloring. That's fair. Some people like to really blend in their colors. Others like to leave sort of a sketchy look. Other people like to do a fur technique. I don't do anything really super fancy. So what I'm going to do is just color in, this is the E31, and I'm coloring in just a real quick base color on all the areas that I'm going to color brown. So I'm using the E31, and if you're coloring along, that's the color that I'm using. Hi, hi, Trina's in here too. Cool. And then, so I'm just laying down a quick color because I'm going to go over it again with other colors. Now, you can color in circles. You can color, some people color in different sections. I'm kind of nervous here, so my hands are kind of shaking. So this probably isn't going to be my most beautiful creation, but you know what? It's fun, and we're going to try it out together. So I did the upper part of his head and then his tail section here, and then the rest of his body at the bottom. And I'm thankful that it's quiet because I have the puppies down here. So as long as nobody rings the doorbell, we should be okay. You love the clear stamps, Melanie? Me too. I'm just really loving them. So now I'm going to take the E55 and I'm just going to add a little bit of shading at the bottoms of his ears. And then come in at the sides here. And then under his hat, maybe a little bit. I hope everybody can see okay. I got to pay attention and make sure that you guys can see. Sorry about that. Okay, and then up from his nose here. And his tail. And under his scarf. And I mean, you can color and shade however you like, whatever works for you. My nails are fabulous. Thanks, Melanie. They're still wet because I just did them so that my hands didn't look too terrible. Okay, so I'm just adding a little bit of, really, just a little bit of extra shading. Nothing fancy. Then E57. Now it's quite dark. So what you can do, and Melanie is really good for this, she does tip to tip blending. So there's quite a jump between the 55 and the 57. So now I haven't done this. I didn't do this on the other one, but I'm going to do try to do a little bit of the tip to tip so it's not quite as dark. So I'm holding the E57 and taking the E55 and just rubbing on it just a little bit, just so that it adds a little bit of the E57. And like I said, this is just, we're just sort of playing here. So how many people are coloring along, or are you too busy coloring to comment? You need to try the tip to tip. Yeah. I don't do it very often just because I'm usually, I don't try a lot of new techniques just because when I actually get the time to color, you're new to coloring. Kimmie Sue is new to coloring. Neat tip. Yes, it is a great technique. So that way, if you've got a couple of markers, you don't need to have all the colors of the Copic markers. So you can make your own colors by doing the tip to tip technique. And that way it's not too super dark and like a really big jump from color to color. So I'm doing that again at the bottom and then at the bottom of his tail. I know you can't My hand's probably in the way a bit. Okay, so that's the E57, E55, and then I would probably just scribble it off a bit just to make sure you don't have the dark on there anymore. And then I'll go back and go over a bit with the E55 to bring out the E57 there a little bit further and make a better sort of blend. Like I said, this is not, none of this is hard and fast rules. You can play around, and I'm sure there are lots of better colorers and coloring videos out there for sure. I know that a lot of the girls on the team have done some coloring videos, and they're just fabulous. They're on our YouTube channel if you ever want to take a look. Yeah, I'm excited to see what everybody makes. And that's the thing, we're all making you know, a similar creation, but everybody's designs are going to look a little bit different. So I'm gone back to the E31 and sort of blending everything out here. Like I said, I'm no professional, but these are just, this is how I color. I tend to do a circular motion in the bigger areas just because it you don't get those lines really. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it like that. You can go back in and add some more shading if you want to. I'm just going to, this is what I'm going to end up with. Just, I'm taking the lightest one and going over the whole thing. Now, some people go dark to light and they don't even touch their light to their dark or blend them in as such. They leave really defined sections between, but this is what I'm going to do. You have to go, Lori. You're going to watch the replay later. Okay, yes, I will definitely, I'll be posting this in the group later on when I'm done. Okay, so we've used the browns on the brown section, the furry section of the fox, and now I'm just going to use, I tried not to use too many colors just in case some people don't have all the colors or, oh, thank you for the hearts. So what I did was I'm only using E41 for in the eye and ear area of the fox. So I'm just using E41 and coloring the whole area, just doing a quick base coat. And the great thing that I love about the Copic markers is that you can go over it again and it makes it darker with the exact same marker. So you don't have to have every single, I mean, it's wonderful to have every single marker that they make, but you don't need it. Don't tell my husband I said that. So this is the E41 and mine actually looks like it's drying up a bit. See how it's got a bit of a white tip there? That means I need to refill it. So good thing I've only got a little area to do here. So then I would just go over a little bit with the same marker, which is the E41, just where I might want a little bit darker shading. You could use the E42 if you wanted to add some more shading. You almost can't even really see because it is such a light marker. You almost can't even really see it. In person you can. But I'm just adding a little bit of shade around the top of the eye section and then at the bottom of the ear section. So that's E41. Then I love the reds with Copic markers. I love that they start really light and you can use just a little bit of dark to really make it pop and stand out. Here's the one I did and I posted it yesterday or the day before maybe. And so we're going to do that and we're just going to do his hat and his scarf. And the markers that I chose, flip them around again, are E35. Just tap your screen to send hearts. Oh, okay, I'm trying to crank my head and read what you're writing as well. So we got R35 and R37 and the R39. So these are all in the 30s. So that makes sense. But like I said, you could use R24, 27, 29, or something like that. Totally up to you. I like this combination that goes with the reds in the bundled up paper. So we'll start with the R35. It's the lightest. And we're just going to do this section in here quickly. Here's another little tip. I always do, if I know I'm going to use red on my design, on my image, I always do the red last, because it is a very strong color, and if the tip of your marker of another color touches it, chances are it's going to drag it into the section that you're coloring. So I try to use the red last. Oh, and then I lied because I haven't done his nose and his paws. We'll do that in a minute. So then I did a base coat of the R35, and then the R37, just adding a little section of shading. So just right here where it folds over and at the bottom. And then I'm gonna brush it towards the top because it's gonna be darker at the bottom here. And then under at the scarf here, so under his neck, and then towards the center. And then from the center towards the bottom on the side of a scarf. Okay, and then you take the darkest color, which is the R39. Oh, I keep moving low, sorry. So the R39 is the darkest. So I'm just gonna add a very little bit right where it creases and at the bottom. Now, those that are really good at folds and clothing and stuff can do a much better job adding creases and stuff than I can, but I'm just gonna do my best here. And so I'm just doing a little bit, and then I'm gonna add like a little line so that it looks like there might be a fold in his scarf there. And again, a little bit here with the darkest color. So then I would go back with the R35 and sort of spread it out a bit. I like the color difference between the R35, 37, and 39. It's a nice spread between colors. Okay, so there's the red section. You could go in and add a little bit more shading if you wanted, but that's how I'm gonna leave him. And then I used E57 alone, just by itself, on the nose and his little feet. Now, to leave a little bit of a highlight, I would just color his nose all except for a little white spot. You could go back in with the white Sharpie poster paint marker and add a little dot if you wanted to do it that way instead over top of the marker. And then I'm just going to add the E57 on his feet here. And like I said, you can go in and add with the same color, just make it a little bit darker. It makes it, every time you go over it, apparently it makes it 10% darker in that section. So you can add as much as you would like. So that's him all colored up. Now, well, I know I take forever when I'm coloring, so I'm sorry about that. But here's the wreath. And so we've already cut him out with, I used a spellbinder. But what's going to happen is we're going to pop that piece on top of the pink mini doily that you would have had in your supply kit. So the colors that I used for the wreath, now, like I said, I colored it up a couple days ago. This is the original. And so this is what it's going to look like when it's done. So I used, for the greens, I used G16 and G28. And that's the back piece of the wreath itself, all the green sections. So I'm going to try to do this quickly. It normally takes me forever because I am not a real quick colorer, but you're going to color in all the section around the ornaments and the bow. That's what takes so long when you're trying to get around the ornaments. But I'm doing just a base coat of the G16. There are a couple of G's that are really close to the G16 color. G17 is close, and G19 is a little bit darker, but it's fairly close as well. And you can see I've already gone outside the lines because I'm trying to do this too quickly. Of course, you can use your colorless blender to take out any mistakes or sections that you've colored in by mistake. Do you know this tip as well? A couple of girls on the design team and I myself have done this. If you accidentally color a section the wrong color, I know I have done it, and I know other people have done it too. You go to color a section and you've got all these markers out and you grab the wrong one, and it's too dark or too light, or well, too light you could fix, but too dark, or it's like totally the wrong color. You can, just as you would paper piece an image like clothing or whatever, you can also paper piece a section that you've accidentally colored the wrong color. So you could just stamp it out again and color it in the correct color. Who does that, Melanie? Actually, I was, you know who I'm talking about. I'll tell you a little story quickly while we're coloring. Melanie has been on the design team for years, and when I had the design team call, Melanie actually told me this story ages afterwards, but she told me that the image that she was coloring up was Charlotte. I don't know if you remember that image. She's the girl with the really, really curly ringlet hair, who's holding some dolls, and she kind of looks like she's having a rough day. Anyway, Melanie told me months after the fact that she colored up Charlotte, and she was coloring, I think it was her dress, in reds, and she dropped either a red or a pink marker, and it landed on Charlotte's face after she'd already colored it all up. Yup. And so what she did, because she'd already colored, you know, almost the whole image, and instead of starting over, which, if you know Melanie, takes her a day and a half to color an image, red, right smack on her eyeball, yeah. And so what she did was she stamped the image again and just paper pieced her face, just colored the face, and this time didn't drop a marker on it, and then cut it out and paper pieced it on top of the image she'd already colored up. So there you go. So that's the G16, colored up the wreath, and then I took the G28 and just flicked in from the outside just to add a, so that you have a little bit of a highlight in the middle where the light would hit. So I'm going to try to do this really quickly. I can't promise it's going to turn out beautifully because I'm trying to do it quickly. There are a lot of great greens in the Copic marker catalog or line or whatever. These are from the G family. There are also some really great YGs, which are the yellow greens. I like a lot of them as well. But this is the combination that works best for the paper that we're using. And like I said, if you're using your own patterned paper at home, just use whatever markers you feel match your or coordinate with your paper. So this is the G28. I will tell you that I'm having a hard time with my hands, so I just found out that I have tendinitis in my hands and my wrist and my elbow and my shoulder. So coloring, I have to color, I can't color a lot at one time. Of course, all the work on the website with, you know, using the mouse doesn't work very well. Doesn't really help. But, so my hand tends to cramp up. So we've shaded from using the G28 So we flicked inwards from the outside and then inwards from the inside. And I'm going to add a little bit of shade around the bow as well, because it's going to have a little bit of a shadow there. Oh, I'm coloring outside the lines. I'm so sorry. And then you can go back if you wanted and flick a little more to the inside and blend it in a little more. I'm just going to do a very little bit here just so you can, I'm sure if you're coloring along, you're probably quicker than I am. And a lot of times I find when I'm coloring an image, I don't like the way it looks right off the bat when it's just sitting there, but once all the pieces are together on my card, I really like it. It all sort of fits together. So that's done with the green. So we're going to go back and use the reds and then the pinks for the ornaments that we've got on the wreath. So the ornaments, the red ones, we're going to use the red colors we already had, and then we're also going to use our 81, 83, and 85. So you just pick and choose which ones you want to use. With the lightest color, I'm just going to do a quick base color. You don't have to do a lot. Just go in and scribble with the lightest color, doing the whole ornament. And then you take the next darkest, which is the R83, and I'm going to do sort of a crescent shape so that the top little section of your ornament has only the R81 showing, so it's the lightest section. So it's going to sort of make it look like it's shiny or that there's light shining on it. And then the R85, just doing a little bit at the bottom, like a little bit of a C shape. And if you want, you can go back with the R83 and just spread it out a bit, leaving just a section at the very top as lighter. Like that. And then we're using the reds that I showed before, so R35, doing a base coat on the, I sound like I'm painting the base coat, on the remaining ornaments. So you're just going to do one quick layer. And then the R37 is next. So do a, like I said, sort of a crescent shape, leaving the top section light. Gosh, I don't even want to guess how long this video is. Like that. And then R39. Oh, again, I moved. I'm sorry. Just shout at me or ding at me or whatever when you can't see the image. So, and then just do a little swipe at the bottom with the R39 of the red ones here. Just like that. And then you might go back with the R37 or R35 just to sort of even it out, spread it out a bit. Just like that. And then the last part is the bow. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed what somebody said something and I missed it. So just doing a base coat or first layer with the R35 and then R37, and you're just going to add a little bit of shading. So inside the fold of the bow and then spreading it out and then coming down the bottom here under the bow. Like that. And then go back with your R39 and add a little bit more shade, a little bit darker. and then go back with the R35 and finish it up. Just like that. Okay, so sorry that took so long, but here, so we've got our 2 pieces finished. So we did the fox and the wreath, fussy cut the fox, and a circle, cutting it out, cut out the circle. Cut out the wreath with the circle. Okay, and I've left these sections white for a reason, so we'll decide what we're going to do with that in a minute. So then you're going to take your 2 patterned papers that I sent you. So I've already used, this is, I think it's Stampin' Up! Crumb Cake or whatever craft that you have. And so I've already cut it and scored it for you. It's just an A2 sized card. So it's 11 inches long and 4 1/4 wide, and then fold it at 5 1/2. So that's the base. And then I also gave you this, I think it's called Blushing Bride from Stampin' Up! I love the Stampin' Up! Cardstock because it's so thick and it scores well and it stands up well and it's great for bases and matting and everything. So what I did was I cut the pink slightly smaller at, I usually do it in increments of 3/8. So 3/8 in from your 4 1/4 and your 5 1/2. And then these are the 2 pattern papers. This is 3/8 smaller than the pink. So this is the side we're going to use, and then this is the same width, this section here, and you can make it as wide as you want. I think I did 1 3/4, and then the matting for the 1 3/4 is 3/8 wider as well. Now, what I like to do, especially these particular papers, they look sort of vintagey to me. So I'm going to use, I asked you to get like a distress ink, whatever color you'd like to use. This one that I'm going to use, obviously you can see that I use it a lot. This is the Walnut Stain, and I'm actually going to do it on my mat here. Does everybody have one of these mats? I love these, I think it's a Tim Holtz mat, and I love to do my inking on it because I tap the ink, if you can see it, and then I start off the paper so that you don't have a real line showing on your paper. So I start over here so a little bit of it comes off on the mat, and it doesn't show a harsh line. And then what you can do is when you're leaving some ink on the mat, you can scoop up the extra, go back and grab the extra. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? So what I'm doing is just adding a little bit of the Walnut Stain ink around the edges of all the patterned paper. I'm choosing just to use the patterned paper. I know some people do the distressing on the cardstock as well, or the white sections as well. You need one of these. The mat, Trina? Yeah, the mat is, I mean, I take it everywhere when I'm going cropping or whatever. It's fantastic and nothing sticks to it, and it's great. So I've done this section, and then you're going to go and do the larger section as well. And I love the Walnut Stain. It's one of my favorites. I also use Vintage Photo. Does anybody else? You distress everything with ink. I know you do, Melanie. Can you see this? Am I in the frame here? And I really like the new round foam thingy. I don't know what it's called. The tool, the foam tool. I like the round as opposed to the rectangular because it seems to not leave harsh marks when you're using it. Okay, so I've done both patterned paper layers. Walnut Stain is awesome. It's one of Melanie's favorites as well. So there you go. So I'm going to layer the patterned paper, the polka dotted dauber. Okay. Kimmie Sue says it's called a dauber. So there we go. So I don't just call it a thingy what's it or a whatchamacallit. So I'm going to attach the patterned paper to the pink. Now I'm just going to use some quick adhesive here. What's everybody's favorite adhesive? What kind of adhesive do you use? Do you use double-sided tape? Do you use glue? Anyone? So what I'm using is, I got one of these at an event that I went to. It was a crop and create event, and I really like it. I like that I generally use the tape that's like a tear, and it's double-sided. Yeah, you use double-sided tape, yeah. But I really like this because it's quick and easy to use, and I don't have to spend time cutting and pulling away, and it's just really quick. So I'm going to use it now. So that's the base. Tombow glue. Yes, I know Melanie uses the Tombow glue. I think it's the white glue with the green lid. You have a little bit of everything. Yeah, me too. And then we're going to attach the piece at the bottom. And you don't need a whole lot. So I'm just going to eyeball it. I'll fit that there. Oh, and it slides a bit. So it's not permanent. And then what you can do, what I do sometimes is if I have my pieces don't line up perfectly, see how there's a little bit of a pink edge there? I'll just trim it off quickly with my scissors. I have lots of different scissors. I love, these are EK Success, but for like fussy cutting, I really like the Stampin' Up! Paper snips. I love them. They're really sharp, and they get into all the little corners. I know some people use the Cutter Bee scissors, so it's whatever your preference is. So here's the, I'm going to just put the base over there. So this is how it's going to look. It's a very simple layout, but it's an easy one that you can use again and again for different stamps, different papers, and it'll always look different. So then I gave you one of these. These are the mini Doodlebug doilies. So you're going to take your wreath and attach it to the mini doily. And again, you don't need a whole lot of adhesive. So just center it where you'd like it. Oh, see what I did? Oh, that was not smart. See, the only thing about using the matte and ink is that it leaves ink on there, and if you put your paper down before the ink is cleaned off with a baby wipe or spray or whatever, you can get it on your hands and on your pretty just colored images. So you can do one of two things. This one got some brown on it around the edges. So sometimes what I like to do is if I've used a spellbinder, I'll put it back in the spellbinder and then add a little bit of ink, a little bit of distress around the edges as well. This is not turning out quite as I had hoped, but you have to make lemonade out of lemons. So that's one way of doing it. And then when you pop it off, there's a white frame around it. Or you can take the one that you did earlier. Here we go. This one's nice and clean. And put it on your, I hope I don't have ink on my fingers. How many people have done that before? You had ink on your fingers, black or brown, and picked up an image and got ink all over it? Anyone? Always be flexible in card making. Yep, there's always a way to fix things. So I just adhered it to the pink doily. And then I'm going to take these two pieces here. And the way I want, this is my idea for laying it out. You can change it up and do whatever you like. But I had this in the middle here and then this here. And I'm going to stamp one of the sentiments that comes with the Happy Winter Days stamp set. So I think I'm going to use the Wishing You Warm Memories. So if you have an acrylic block, just grab one of your sentiments. Put Put it on your acrylic block, and I always use the VersaFine ink when I'm doing sentiments. It does take a long time to dry, so try not to smudge it, or do it last so that you can set it aside. But I think it's such a thick ink. It's a pigment ink, and it just gives a real sharp image, which is exactly what you want when you're using sentiments, when you're doing wording. So I'm going to stamp it just at the bottom here, like that. Can you see that? Okay, so we're going to set that aside, and so I've got, this is the way it's going to lay out, like this, with this bar at the bottom. So I'm going to attach it as well. Okay. And like I said, you can make the design however you would like. This is just what I came up with ahead of time. Then I also gave you some of this linen thread, which is, I love it because it's not as thick as the twine, and it's a natural color, so it goes with everything. And so I gave everybody a length of the twine, and so I want to put it around this section here. So now when I'm doing twine or linen thread or jute cording or whatever, I always have it go around at least twice, sometimes 3 times. So this one, I'm going to do it twice. And I'm going to tie it a little over to the left. And with the best twine ever. So with this, what's great with the skinny twine is that you can tie a knot in it first. I find with the thicker twines that it's hard to tie it in a knot and then tie a bow because it makes it too bulky. So I really like this twine for that, and it is in the shop if you want to grab it. And I have it set so that you get 10 yards. So if you order one, just the increment of 1, then you will get 10 yards, and it's very inexpensive. So I'm just going to tie the bow there. You could add a charm or something if you wanted, and I'm just going to trim it off there. So that's the way that looks. And then I'm going to attach it to the base. I'm sure this is all, not very exciting for you. All you people that are card makers have been doing this for years, and you're like, Kim, you're not telling me anything I don't know. But I love playing along with everybody, and I love doing classes, and you can always learn something new. And if you have a tip, feel free to shout it out, because I'm sure we probably haven't heard of it, or you've got some ideas that we haven't heard before. So you're just attaching the base, or the pink layer, to the card base. Don't those colors go so nicely together? And then, I'm a great teacher. What are you talking about? So then we're going to take this layer that we already did up. So it's got the colored wreath on it and the doily. And I want to, I'm going to attach it flat. And then we'll pop dot the fox. So we're going to attach the wreath at the top in the middle. And then I'm not going to attach the fox just yet because I want to do a couple different things. I'm not sure how I want to do how I want to do the white section. So I'm going to do a couple of different things. First of all, I'm going to try the liquid applique. I don't know if you've used it before. It's one of my favorite things for making 3D snow, or the puffy sections on the Santa hats are perfect for that. So I'll do one with the liquid applique and the heat gun. And then the other one I thought we'd try the Wink of Stella glitter brush, because I love the sparkle that it gives. So actually, I forgot to color the tip here, of the tip of his tail. So I just used the E41, just like I did for these sections. So the area that we're going to do with the liquid applique or the Wink of Stella is just the hat and the ball of the hat there. So let's try the liquid applique first. Now, this is a new one. I haven't used it yet, so hopefully it works okay. So it's got a nice tip at the end there. It's like a fine tip, so you can get it exactly where you want it. There's a little section here, and then the circular ball at the bottom. Now, you can always go in and add more liquid applique, but you can't take it away. So I'm just going to start off with just a little bit here, and I'm going to use my heat gun, so you probably won't be able to hear for a minute. So let's see how this. See if you can see it pop up here. It's just got to heat up for a second. I'll try to get it under the camera so you can see it. Okay, is that right? Hopefully it doesn't burn my finger. Oh, there it goes. That is so awesome. There. So did you see that? So his hat is all nice and puffy now. So you can use that. I love liquid applique for adding snow. You could use it on the snow days stamp set where the girl is like snowboarding and the guy is falling down the hill. Isn't it awesome, Kimmie Sue? Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's instant. It puffs up instantly. So we'll do that with one of them. And then the other one I thought we'd use the Wink of Stella. It is a fun effect. So this is the Wink of Stella. Now you could color underneath it if you wanted to add a little bit of gray to the hat section, but I'm just going to paint over it with the Wink of Stella brush. Oh, and I unscrewed it instead of pulled it out. Okay, so here we go. And you can see the glitter is already, can you see that? The glitter is already on the end of the brush. So I just scribble a little on the paper, and then I'll go in and just really all you're doing is painting like you would with a paintbrush on his hat. And you really don't have to do anything. If the paint or the sparkle doesn't seem to be coming out, just off to the side, not on your project, but on the side, squeeze it just a very, very light hand, and then it'll start flowing again. But I haven't had to do that yet since I started using it, and I just love the effect, the sparkle. It just gives so much sparkle. And there are different colors that you can get it in. This is the clear. I don't know if you can see that, if I've got it in a spot where you can see the sparkle, but it's there, so it shows up really nicely. Now you could do the same thing with the ornaments. You could add sparkle to each of the ornaments. I've seen some people use liquid pearls on each of the ornaments, so it looks really, really cool. And there's different things you can do with each. Like I said, you could add a charm, you could add some brads, some enamel dots, whatever you prefer. So I'm gonna add the hat, the fox with the liquid applique hat, and I want to use pop dots. So I'm going to put them about here. So I'm just going to add some pop dots at the bottom and maybe in his ears. You don't need a whole lot, but you want to make sure that you're putting the pop dots in a section that's not, like you don't want to put them on top of your twine there. So the twine, the liquid applique, the Wink of Stella, they're all in the shop there, as well as the stamp set that we're using, the Winter Days. I've got it on special right now in the shop, so you can grab it if you don't already have it. So there is my finished card. So I've used Kraft, a light pink. I used the Blushing Bride, and then these papers are called Bundled Up. And Minnie wants me to pay attention to her, so I'd better hurry up. And I just added the sentiment with the VersaFine ink on the bottom there, and I added some liquid applique to his hat. Or you could also use the, you just love sparkly stuff? Yeah, me too. Anything you can add glitter to, I'm all for. So that's the Wink of Stella. So that is our finished card. I'm sure it probably took about an hour, but I hope you had fun. So this was our first go at doing the Kraftin with Kimmie live, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm already thinking about doing another one in probably 3 weeks. So as soon as I've picked out the paper, but I haven't decided on the stamp set yet. So These are the papers that I was looking at. I hope you like them. They're by Bo Bunny, and there's mittens, and it's got like an off-white tone to it, and I love the snowflakes there. So these were the colors that I was going to use, and I'm trying to decide, maybe you can help me decide, either the Snow Buddy stamp set, because I think it would be fun to make the snowman all sparkly, or the new One Cup at a Time stamp set. So we can do some fun things with the cups, or maybe we could do more than one. But I think I'll make a decision and I'll let you know, and then I will put the stamp set on special, and I'll come up with the supplies for it as well, and I'll let you know as soon as it comes in. Yeah, I love Bo Bunny too. Oh, you love snowmen? Okay, so what I'm going to ask you is you can leave a comment on here, or I'm going to post the video in the Facebook group, in the Crafty Friends group. So you can leave a comment underneath as to which stamp set you'd like me to use, and if you enjoyed yourself. So thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me, and I hope this wasn't too painful, and maybe we'll do it again soon. Thanks so much. Thank you. Looking forward to the next video. Oh, good. I'm so glad. Okay, we'll see you soon.